What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, and this is kind of forgetting what part I am on, part 8. Part 8 of my deep dive into the Moody Blues studio album catalog. Never heard a complete album before, with an asterisk. That asterisk is explained in the first video I made. So I thought I would deep dive into this band who I found on the top 25 prog rock artists of all time and the top 25 British rock artists of all time, and I was unfamiliar. So we're into album number 8. I'm going to talk about this album, then I'll rank it among the other 7 at the end of this video. And this is, I believe, the last album for a while. 1972's 7th Sojourn. Ice cream man's outside. I don't know if you can hear that. Came out in 72. It's their 8th, right? It's called the 7th Sojourn, but it is their 8th. I don't think their next album comes out for like another 6 years. I think their next, maybe there's a live album or something, but I believe their 9th album doesn't come out until 78. So it'll be interesting to see, because so far these first 8 have all been within like a span of like 6 years, 7 years. I did know a song on this album. I thought I had only knew 3 Moody Blues songs prior to this. Turns out I think this is the 7th song I've known. I did know I'm just a singer in a rock and roll band. I'm just a singer, parentheses, in a rock and roll band, close parentheses. Never a fan of this song as a kid. When this came on the radio, did nothing for me. I did, when it started to play, I was like, I know this song. I knew it was the Moody Blues. Never liked it. I don't know why. It always just even more so muddled my understanding of what it was the Moody Blues was as a band. Like the songs I knew were Tuesday Afternoon and Nights in White Satin, and then some 80s song, which I still can't remember the name of. And this just didn't go with that aspect of the band. I never really liked it, but it's the last song on side 2, so it's the last song on this album. It is a great song. The lyrics are pretty much like, whoa, look at the world. I've been traveling all over it. There's some crazy stuff, some deep stuff going on. And here I am. I'm just a singer in a rock and roll band. I actually like it. I think it's a great song. It's their weird version of like rock, pop rock with psych elements. Just layers and layers of just energy in this song. Horns, guitars, synth, vocals, just layers and layers of music. Fantastic arrangement. A really good song. And I actually think if it had opened the album, I think the other best song on this is the opening song, but I think if it had opened the album, it paints the album in a different way, and being the last number, I'm like, it was a good ending. The other really, for me, highlight of this album is the opening song, Lost in a Lost World, which has this awesome bass groove that sounds almost like Take Me to the River, as played by like Booker T and the MGs, but it's that bass line with just this really awesome kind of mid-tempo-ish layers of psych pop. Kind of sounds like nothing else the Moody Blues does. But it's really, really good. It's really trippy in a psychedelic way. It's a very good psych pop song with this awesome almost like Peter Gunn meets Take Me to the River, played by Booker T. And it's a really, really good song. And it contrast balances out really well with the closing. I'm just a singer in a rock and roll band. But phenomenal start, phenomenal finish. My problem is, other than pretty much 2 songs in the middle, there's 8 songs total, about half of the song just doesn't really do it for me. The next 2 songs on side A, after Lost in a Lost World, that awesome opening track, New Horizons and For My Lady, are very gentle, acoustic-y, with like sort of layers of almost like pastoral, proggy, psych, just airy, fluty type, gentle music. Just not, I don't think it's the Moody Blues strength. It's not, or if it is their strength, it's not what I like. So, I mean, to me, this band is kind of in its own little ballpark when it's doing the more like high energy Lost in a Lost World, I'm Just a Singer, Tuesday Afternoon, their weird psych pop rock stuff. I think they're like top tier. The other stuff, it almost sounds like warmed over, like it's like, look up, they took Because from the Beatles and made it something a little psychier, or they took some Pink Floyd vibes and just did their little thingy to it with some airiness and some flutes, and it doesn't connect with me. And so New Horizons, the second song, it's got some nice swelling parts that are kind of cool, but the overall vibe is just kind of gentle acoustic. For My Lady, it's like a finger-picked ballad. There's a boat metaphor going on, and it has being on a boat energy, but not like a wild storm, but like a calm, partly cloudy day kind of energy. I don't know. Angelic background vocals and strings going on. To me, it doesn't really stand out. To me, this doesn't really set them apart from other bands of the era. Just sounds like late 60s, early 70s, folky, proggy psych stuff. Isn't Life Strange? A little bit more proggy, and it's like development, and it's like low, quiet sort of dynamics. I still don't think it's that great of a song. And so for the first half of the album, side A, the opening track, phenomenal. Great. I think one of the most interesting things I've heard from them so far, but the rest of it doesn't really jump out at me. We get to the second half of the album. The opening track, You and Me, great. This really neat guitar riff that seems to be almost racing these symphonic ideas at the same time. It's almost like it's two different songs, like what's going to win out. Eventually, they just kind of come together into this really nice but kind of weird rock groove. Another really, really, really good song. I'm actually going to bump that up into the tier of Lost in a Lost World and I'm Just a Singer. 1, 5, and 8, great. Like triples, if not home runs. Doing a phenomenal job. Really nice guitar lines. There's this drum attack at the end. You and Me, yeah. 3 solid songs on this album. The next one, The Land of Make Believe, not that bad. The acoustic energy is kind of good. We got some woodwind actions. The drums kind of drop in about right before the minute mark. It's kind of some mid-tempo psych pop stuff. Kind of folky, kind of psyche, some orchestral type pop prog stuff. Kind of a nice building energy. It's a little kind of all over the place, and it's at its core, there seems to be this little bit of softness, but there's a little muscling up here that makes it, I think, a little more interesting than some of the stuff on the first half of the album. We get When You're a Free Man, really good acoustic guitar intro. Has like a darker, more like just more moody aspect to it with like some strumming stuff. Like we're going to get some more like, we're not in a field with butterflies at this point. It's maybe just a little bit darker. These kind of low backing, I don't know if I think it's keyboard sounds or keys simulating strings. I don't believe there are strings on this, but some sort of like keyboard instrument is creating sort of this like symphonic palette that gives it this nice sort of ominous vibe. Nice little electric guitar kind of threads its way throughout the album. Yeah, pretty good song. When You're a Free Man, pretty good song. I think it really helps that it's between on the second half of the album amongst this more muscular stuff. I think if it had been buried on the first side, it maybe the lesser aspects of this stand out, if that makes sense. I think it's put in a good place. And then after that, we get the awesome I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band. Yeah. When I sat down, I think I was a little less excited about this, but realizing, one, how good the second half of the album kind of is. You and Me is pretty fantastic. I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band is fantastic. The second half of this album is pretty good. The Land of Make Believe and When You're a Free Man are not as high as those opening and closing tracks on that side, but they're pretty strong stuff. My only problem is there are 3 songs on the first side that I think just kind of drag it down. Like, and maybe if the sides had been flipped and side B had been side A and side A had been side B, and it's the last 3 songs, you know, maybe there's enough momentum from the beginning to carry me through those. But yeah, those 3 songs, I just listened to this album a bunch of times, didn't really get into them. I didn't really find the hook. There's nothing. But 3 fantastic songs, 2 pretty solid songs, and then 3 that just kind of make me go, So Not the strongest note to end on, considering that we're now taking a 6-year break. But I will say that after listening to these first 8 albums, very much late 60s, early 70s, obviously we're now moving into a post-punk era officially. Punk is there, disco is there. Interesting to see how in any way if this affects the Moody Blues sound. So I'm really excited about this next one. But I would say this was a pretty interesting run so far. They're an ambitious group, though they don't really take a lot of musical chances. Like they're not really breaking down walls, but they write great psych songs. They're sort of not rock. I mean, they're not, I would never say they're really rocking out, but their high energy psych pop flirting with rock stuff is fantastic. Their lighter stuff is hit and miss. It's been an interesting journey so far. Where would I rank this if I had to rank it among the other first 8? I have it way back in number 5. I just think I'm definitely not as excited to go back and listen to this as I still am for Days of Future Past, which I had at 3, just because I really didn't like the symphonic stuff. I'm starting to warm up to the cheesiness of it and the Disney Looney Tune cartoon aspect of it. And I still think the second half of that album is just straight up a banger. 1 and 2 are fantastic. And 4, I just think maybe a couple of the highs on 4 are higher than maybe I don't know. 4 and 5 are pretty close to each other, I would say, maybe. But yeah, I have it at number 5 right now. That's where I would drop it. But yeah, that's all I got. I feel like I've reached this weird turning point now. Made it through the 60s and 70s. Next time we emerge, it'll be in 78. So really, really interested to see what that album sounds like. And I'm really glad I'm doing it in order, particularly because of this little jump that happens right here. So yeah. All right. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Love your thoughts on this album. Try to sell me on that first side A, why it's better than I think it is, what it is I'm missing, something. Don't think there's a concept to this album. There was no narration at any point, so we didn't get that. Yeah. All right. I'm rambling. Thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.